Hey everyone, welcome. I'm Wardy from the Eat God's Way cooking program at Traditional Cooking School, and I'm joined today by Deidre S. Hi, Deidre.
Hi.
And I'm pronouncing your name right, correct?
It's actually Deidre.
Deidre! What a
Yes.
terrible start to an interview. Well, I'm going
I
to
should have
leave
said
it since,
something sooner.
yeah, because I've been calling you Deidre all this time. So, Deidre, I will rewire my brain, and now everybody knows that I'm human too. Well, thank you,
Right.
Deidre. I'm so happy you've joined us today. So excited to share your story of what you've accomplished, how you and your family have done on our Eat God's Way program. Let's start just by you sharing about you and your family, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, great. My name is Deidre. I live in Archer, Florida. My husband and I have 6 children. We have boys that are the bookends and 4 girls in the middle. So ranging from about to turn 16 all the way down to 2.
What a span with a cute little 2-year-old there at the bottom, or I guess maybe at the top. Well, let's talk about what your family was struggling with, if you don't mind, what your frustrations were with cooking or health, or kind of what was
Mhm.
going on in your family
Mhm.
before you and I started working together.
It really started around my own health issues. I think after baby number 5 was really when everything kind of came to a head. I had had lots of brain fog and tiredness and lots of symptoms up to that point. And then after baby number 5, it was not a difficult time, but I received a lot of antibiotics and it really impacted my system in a significant way. And I couldn't bounce back after that pregnancy easily. So I was tired all the time, brain fogged all the time, was having migraines regularly, at least monthly, if not every other week, and was having skin issues, eczema, things that I had never experienced before. Things that in my younger years I felt like I could just kind of push through and get through it. And next week it'll be better. So let's just manage this week. And I just got to a point where I kind of gave up and said, this is beyond my being able to just take some ibuprofen or do the normal things, just get a little extra sleep or a little more caffeine to correct the
Yeah.
problem. And I discovered during that time that if I would take an antihistamine pill, that I would ease some of my symptoms. And so I started wondering, well, what is histamine? That an antihistamine pill would correct some of these issues. And it led me down the path of becoming low histamine. So I started a low histamine diet. And that really got me on the track of thinking a little more holistically and a little bit bigger about how our diet impacts how we feel. And that helped tremendously. Around the same time, I had a friend who had taken your sourdough A to Z course. And so she had shared with me the ebook. And so that's how I got introduced to traditional cooking school. So she had tried lots of different things from dairy free to gluten free. We had both shared some struggles with migraines. And so sharing resources as you do with your friends, I decided maybe I'll give sourdough a try. Maybe it's the gluten that's an issue because we always think maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And so that was how I got introduced to the traditional cooking school. But it was just through that one ebook. I hadn't joined the school yet at all. So fast forward a few years, about 16 months ago, I had to have emergency surgery to have my gallbladder removed. So all of that work that I had been doing to try to get healthier and reduce my histamine levels, it got me to a certain point, but it clearly hadn't healed things. I was still suffering from some migraines and some tiredness issues. And when I had that surgery, it was very eye-opening to clearly there is something even bigger going on. And I started researching liver health and what affects the gallbladder and how does our digestive system all link together. And there's this beautiful saying, I don't know who said it, that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And I had been regularly getting your weekly emails and things. And in January of last year, 2023, my husband and I decided that we needed to set a family goal for the year to really focus on our health. It was a pretty big scare to have emergency surgery like that, and very eye opening that there is clearly something bigger going on. We need to know more. And I think you were already writing about low vitamin A and some liver health things and so many other things that just rang true to me. And so we decided to join and become members of the traditional cooking school and have really just spent the last year focusing on just learning and making little changes one at a time along the way. And then that brings us here to now. Over the course of the year, you just make little changes here and there, and they all start adding up, and you start feeling
Yep.
better.
I think you couldn't have said that better. First, let me say that's just a beautiful story. I didn't know all the details. So that was really sweet to hear that whole progression. And it also makes me feel just really great personally because we have some things in common in terms of hitting a wall with, like, okay, well, I can avoid all these foods, but I'm clearly not getting better. How do I get better? And then that leads you one thing to
Yeah.
the other to the other. And like you said, it's just small steps along the way that then do, well, Lord willing, help you heal. So we're going to get to your healing story. So now we're at last January 2023.
Mhm.
And with your family goal and your husband's blessing, you decided to join our Eat God's Way cooking program. So tell us what you did first. Just walk us through how you approached it, where you started. Share that journey with us.
Yes. So I decided to start with the batch cooking course because I
Oh,
felt like we were always behind in our cooking. And I always
mhm.
did a week or 2 week meal plan, but I always felt like there was an obstacle to getting dinner on the table every night. And I thought maybe if I start learning how to do things in bigger batches, so I have things that are prepared and ready to go in the freezer, that maybe that would help us. And it was a great way to start because I learned so many wonderful techniques on how to store food. And it gave me permission to bulk cook and to cook up and not to extremes. I'm not really a take the whole weekend and batch cook kind of gal. I really
Yeah.
need to be able to incorporate things into my weekly schedule. And I feel like that class really gave me permission to just go ahead and if you're making 2 pounds of meatballs, why don't you just go ahead and make 4 pounds of meatballs and store some
Right.
in the freezer? And things that I think are common sense, but until somebody gives you the permission to go ahead and do that, we forget that it's okay to do those things. And then the recipes in there were wonderful. So I loved the techniques and I learned a lot. And it gave me a lot of freedom to just batch cook throughout the week. And it really made a big difference in our meal planning. And on the nights when a year prior to that would have said, just pick up some chicken nuggets and fries and some salad, instead I could open the freezer and say, I have rice and beans and some wonderful ranch chicken right there. Like we
Ah,
can make a meal faster than we could go and pick something up. So it just all started clicking and making a lot of sense. And
yeah.
the other thing I love about that batch cooking class is that it all ties back together with the fundamentals class. All of the recipes are still Eat God's Way. Everything you need is in there. And the recipes are just wonderful and also scaled to the size that I needed because with 6 kids, we need everything in bulk. So I still refer to that class for the recipes, for the scaling and things.
Nice. Great. So you did batch cooking and you're also probably dipping into fundamentals to get background information or more recipes that you could scale. Then what did you do?
Let's see, I did start to go back to the fundamentals, and then I started going into the ancient grains cooking class when that came up,
Mhm.
and also went back into the sourdough A to Z course. So I haven't gone through any of the other courses fully since I did batch cooking. I've just been cherry picking my way through
Yeah,
with things that we need. But I think that's the beauty of it is being able to say,
absolutely.
okay, I would like this month to focus on this particular ancient grains or whatever it happens to be. And then I'd go dip into that class and pull out what I needed from it.
Wonderful. Do you come to office hours?
I do.
Tell us about your office hours experience.
I'm so glad that you asked me about this because I was thinking recently about some of the sacrifices that we've made so far this year. So last year's goals were let's just learn how to eat God's way and let's focus on the cooking. And this year we still have the family goal of healthy eating and focusing on that, but then trying to dial into what are the sacrifices that we need to make in our time and in our budget to really focus on things. And some of those sacrifices have been to pull back from some of the monthly
Mhm.
events, some of the hosting that we used to do. It connects back to office hours in this way. The encouragement that I get from office hours, the loving nature of it, the it's okay if you made a mistake, let's keep going, the prayerful nature
Guilty.
of the encouragement. When I think about how do I want to be spending my time this year and who do I need to be spending my time with to help our family achieve our goals, I keep coming back to this traditional cooking school community, which is so encouraging and so supportive and so uplifting. So that's what I get from office hours is just that weekly touch in, check in, and just that uplifting. We're all working together. We're all struggling together. We're all succeeding together. And I didn't realize how much I really needed that. I'm not cutting Wardy out of my budget by any means, but we look at our monthly budgets and we think, okay, what are the things that I really need? Maybe I've gotten all my recipes. And then I think, but that emotional support from a community of like minded women that are all working towards the same goals is just incalculable. So, yeah, we're here to
Yeah.
stay. I'd say it's safe to say.
Aw, that makes me feel really good, like really, really special. Because we've been having some conversations lately about people who stay with us for the long haul. And we've had this question on our team, and between my husband and I, like, why are people still here? And so it's nice to have
Yeah.
you spontaneously share that. I appreciate it. I want to talk about an email you sent in recently, which is a full year later of you joining. And you just talked about scaling back. You and your husband decided we really need to meal prep. We're going to do it on Friday night. We're not going to go to this event. And you did a ton of meal prep, which sounds like it's not your normal to devote that much time, but you needed to for whatever reason. And then you also shared one of your big wins. I guess I should say, first of all, I just love that you and your husband are putting that in action. I would assume the kids are involved too. As a family, we really have to prioritize and make decisions about where we want to spend our time. And this is important. So you said no to something that would be otherwise good on Friday to get your meal prepping done for the week. But then you also shared that you're saving 30% on your groceries. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that because that's a pretty big deal, especially today when food prices are so high. So,
Yes.
how do you think that has happened?
I think it's a few things actually. The first one is really turning to my pantry and really buckling down and focusing on shopping out of my pantry. I realized that we
Yep.
had a lot of meat in our freezer still, and meat is obviously a huge expense, and loads of things in the pantry. I have a closet full of wheat berries and other things. And I thought there is an abundance here already that I need to turn my eye to and make sure that I'm being responsible managing all of these resources that we have right at our fingertips already. And so I really made it a point to go through and do a complete inventory of everything that we had. It's hard sometimes to get down to the bottom of the deep freezer.
Yes.
And I made it a goal to really use what we already had because we had all of these blessings already here and all of these foods already here that needed to be used up. And so we just really prioritized making sure that we were managing that inventory well that we already have. And then just filling in what we needed with obviously fresh fruits and vegetables
Yep.
and milks and things like that. And so that was probably the
Excellent.
biggest thing. And then the second big part of that was we really committed to making everything from scratch. So with 6 kids, we go through a lot of snacks and we're homeschooling. So we're here all day. So it's very easy to snack your way through the day and snack your way through lunch and breakfast and then realize, oh, geez, all these packaged snacks that I bought that I needed for the trip to the park later this week,
They're
like we just
gone.
ate all of those for lunch. That's not acceptable. So we really just kind of put our foot down on ourselves and stopped buying anything processed and prepackaged and prepared just to force ourselves to have to think ahead about what are the events, what's upcoming, what do we really need for snacks during the day, and everything was made from scratch. I don't think I've ever done so much scratch cooking in my life as I did in January, but what a blessing it was. And the kids really did help out because they knew, oh boy, if we want to have our snacks, if we want our nice muffins, if we want our Lara bars, if we want our oat bites, all of these things, we're going to need to help make sure that those things get done. So that was the other big thing was really truly committing to making everything from scratch. And that's where some of the having to steal some time from other events came in.
Yes.
But I never would have thought that we could have gotten our grocery budget down. I thought I really had gotten it pared back as far as I could, but I realized by really making everything like even a $2 box of something from the store, you think it's just $2, but those little things add up over the course of the month.
Yes, yes, yes. And then when you think just about how much better it is when you make it from home, from the kids being
Yeah,
involved and you all doing it together in the kitchen, to the nutritional quality, to the feeling of fulfillment and purpose, that kind of stuff, to share the word you said earlier, is incalculable. So
it
you save
really
the
is.
money and you get all these priceless benefits.
Yes. And I think being a mom sometimes is a thankless job. And I have gotten so many thanks from my kids over the last few months. They really appreciate the effort. They're starting to recognize the effort and understand the way that we used to eat versus how we eat now. And when you make that effort, how much better you feel. And I think they feel better. They feel very energetic. So it's been very rewarding to get
Mhm.
the grateful praises from children and husband.
Nice. Well, they see you doing it. They see the work that you're putting in, and they probably also see you feeling better. So now let's go with you sharing some of your big wins that you've experienced, which you've already hit on so many. But if you look back on it all, let's just you prioritize or you kind of rank what has been the most important benefit to you and so on.
Yeah, so I think the healing of the migraines and the increased energy levels have really been top of my list. I think we have lots of goals for things that we would like to do, short term and long term. And I think we realized that a lot of these kind of chronic health issues that we've been battling and have been holding us back from some of the other life goals that we have, things that we would like to do in our community, career aspirations, things like that. And so I think getting my energy back and realizing that there is a way to continue the healing and to continue to feeling good has just increased my ability to be productive in so many areas and supportive of my husband in his career in so many areas. And even just simple things like preparing all of his lunches. We do batch cooking and I prepare all of his lunches for a few weeks at a time. So he goes in and he just kind of shops every morning in the freezer for what he wants to bring to lunch that day. And it's actually become a bit of a joke in his office now. Like when he heats up his food for lunch, what is Russ eating today? All of the smell walked around. It's really sweet.
But we're
But
gonna have to dig into that more someday. Not today, but I kind of would love to see what
yeah.
that process is like.
But
Sounds
he's even
wonderful.
reported back that his energy levels from eating better and healthier and not having to run out to get fast food or even run to the
Mhm.
grocery store to get a salad because I didn't have the energy to prepare his lunch. It's just making everything run smoother.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The ripple effect. It's amazing. You feel
Yes.
better, then you serve your family more. Not that you were failing before, because you couldn't, but if you
Right.
feel better, you can do more for them, which then they feel better, and then they appreciate you. It all
Yes.
ties together so beautifully.
Yes.
Oh, praise the
Yes.
Lord.
Yes. Amen.
What else? What are your other big wins?
Let's see. I think also being able to heal some of my daughter's issues that they were having with some
Okay.
dairy problems. That's been pretty big. And even just the ability to recognize when something isn't right with one of my kids. And rather than just rushing to the doctor to figure out what's going on, realizing, okay, let's take a step back and let's think about what did we do yesterday and today? What did we eat? And just the awareness around how the foods that we eat are affecting each of us individually. I feel like I've become a better mom and better able to dial into what each of my individual kids' needs are from a dietary standpoint. So that's been a really big win.
And so, speaking of the dairy issue a little bit more specifically, how did you resolve that for them?
We were able to just cut out like the regular dairy milk. I have some children that tolerate regular dairy just fine, and some that cannot do lactose at all. So, in some cases, we've made some switches to lactose free options and lactose free milk. And then I've really started to try to transition them to alternative milks. I drink almond milk. Thank you for teaching me how to make almond milk really
Yes.
well. And I also make oat milk now as well, which I love.
Good.
And so it's trying to make those transitions for them to realize that, okay, some of these other milks, because I think they, like all of us, get stuck in a, if it's not this exact brand and this exact thing, then it's not going to taste good and I can't have it. So just starting to make those transitions for them. There are other ways, but especially the alternative dairies. Everything that I bake now, I use the alternative milk. So anything recipes that call for milk, I'm using my own homemade almond milk. So things like
And
that have
you
really
did
helped.
a and you did a lot of experimenting with the non-dairy yogurt too, right?
Yes. Yes. And it was kind of hit or miss even on that because
I remember.
making yogurt at home has been kind of a love-hate relationship for me. Some days it goes really well and some days it doesn't. And then depending on the yogurt culture, sometimes it sits well with us and sometimes it doesn't. So I took a step back from that and said, well, maybe we'll just experiment. What have other farmers already set in place? There are so many farmers now that are doing A2 yogurts and other things, goat's milk yogurt, lots of things. And we just also pulled back from that in general a lot. My children love yogurt, but I think we pulled back from that a little bit just to kind of reset and reassess and figure which of these really are working best for us. I would like to get back into yogurt making, but I think that's going to be a longer goal for now.
Yeah, and it's such a process. I love that you said stepping back is valuable. I think we need to do that more often. And if I would make a bigger point about that, maybe you would agree with this. The less that we're eating processed foods and the simpler our diet gets, the more easily we can assess the impact of the odd or unique or the food that's just
Yes.
taken way too big a place in our diet.
Yes.
And then you can just see, like, how does this affect my mood? How does this affect my stomach? And then you pull it out and you're like, oh, I'm less tired today, or oh, I don't have a headache, or the kids are happier, or whatever it is. When you don't
Yes.
have that cloud of processed foods, you can more easily identify and take action. And I love that
Yes.
you're doing that.
Yes, and I actually have a great story for you about that because we have started to transition into eating a low vitamin A diet. And I know we'll get into next steps, and I'm looking forward to starting
Mhm,
Dr. Smith's program soon. So I would say for maybe about 6 months, we've been
mhm,
trying to focus on low
mhm.
vitamin A, just doing a DIY based on what we've learned from you and
Sure.
from the school and other research that we've done. It was ringing a lot of bells of truth. So we decided to give it a try. And so I've not been eating any orange vegetables, no carrots, like all of the things, no beta carotene at all. Well, somebody had gifted us this beautiful butternut squash that used to be one of my favorite vegetables over the holidays. And so I thought, we've been doing so well. I'm just going to cook up this butternut squash. I'm going to roast it like I used to, and we're going to enjoy this. And boy, the reaction with my husband and I both was so swift, and it was intestinal distress for almost 3 days. And I could pinpoint it clearly to that. And I thought, wow, there's really something to this low vitamin A. And my body just told me, you're not healed yet, and you're not ready to go back to those orange foods yet. So, to your point about pulling back, then
Incredible.
you try to add something back in, and your body tells you immediately, no, no. It was very enlightening.
Wow, what an amazing story. I just heard a similar story for one of our members who thinks she's pulled back on vitamin A foods specifically for skin condition. And if
Hmm.
she goes back, the skin just flares right
Hmm.
back up. Because,
Yes.
which I'm saying this for people listening, the issue is if you have vitamin A in your body stored in excess of the level that your body can process and use and shuffle out like it does all the other, what we call nutrients, then you have issues. It's one of the many things that we could have in excess of our bodies, but for reasons we won't go into here, more people have an excess of vitamin A now.
My skin and my face is also my thermometer. Yes, I have
Yeah,
the same
yeah.
issue. As soon as I get into something I shouldn't have, immediate
Wow.
breakout. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, tough, but what a good lesson to learn. The butternut squash, don't want it to go to waste. Well, let's just eat it.
right.
And I know that's really tough for people when you face something like, well, I can't have dairy anymore. And I happen to have all this. They might have non fat, dry powdered milk or just something.
Mhm.
And then the question is, oh, but I don't want to waste it. But I always go back to put it in perspective of if it's not good for you, do you really want to put it in your body? And you're not even making a blanket statement of it's not good for anybody. It's just like, if it's going to make me sick,
Right.
then is it really a waste not to eat it?
Right, right, right. And maybe it
Well,
could be a blessing to somebody else who can still eat
yes.
it. And so we do try to pass
Yes.
things off because we're in Florida. We have a banana ring. And so, just for us personally, we have a saying in our house, oh, we can't eat that anymore. Let's feed it to the bananas. So, we put a compost pit inside of our banana ring. So, anything that we can't eat so that it doesn't go to
Oh,
waste, we
feeds the
say, oh,
bananas.
we're going to feed the bananas.
So you literally grow bananas at your house? Is that what you're saying? Is that what a banana ring is or what? I've never heard that
Yes.
term.
Yes. So you basically dig out a pit and you plant your banana plants, your banana trees around it and throw all of your compost into the pit. And so that's what creates the banana ring. And so the compost will feed the bananas, which will
Oh
grow you
my
bananas.
goodness. That's
Yeah,
right. It's like feeding the chickens, but you're feeding the bananas. I'm moving
exactly.
to Florida.
Exactly. Yes.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, so cool. Oh, that's so great. So you have had a lot of wins. Your migraines, your energy, your husband's energy, the kids just widening their palates and giving them more options to feel satisfied with their foods when they can't have dairy, saving
Mhm.
money on groceries, 30%, just cleaning things up, batch cooking to save you time, having a freezer full of options. There was one other thing that I think was a big win there that you mentioned. Oh, your children and your husband appreciating the food and appreciating your efforts, which feels good
Yeah.
as a mom to be like, I'm doing all this work and my family appreciates me. Like, how much better could that feel?
Yes. Oh, it really can. And actually, my oldest son, who's about to turn 16, has really taken more of an interest in cooking. I think he's started to look ahead and thinking about when he moves out on his own and how he's going to take care of himself. And so he's really started helping out more in the kitchen and wanting to learn more about all of the cooking techniques because of the value we place on our cooking and how we're cooking and the importance of that. I think when you're having those value conversations around what you choose to buy and how you choose to prepare it, it really helps the children understand the importance of it. It's very different than we bought a box of cereal, we ate it, we throw the box away. There's not really a lot of value attached to that. And so I think as he's growing and maturing, he's starting to understand this is a life skill that I need to learn because my parents have such a value that they've placed on this and a high level of importance on it. This is something that I need to learn how to do for myself. So that's been very
Yeah,
rewarding.
great. Oh, that is so wonderful. Really wonderful. Well, what's next for you and your family?
I have numerous courses that I really would like to dive into. And again, we can't do
Mhm.
everything at once. I just keep plucking away at the different lessons. But from a goal standpoint, my husband and I are both going to join the Love Your Liver program this year. So we really want to dive into understanding more of the toxicities and deficiencies specific to us. I feel like we've done enough to recognize that we're on the right track. And now we really want to dial in to make sure that we're not missing any opportunities and making sure that what we're doing is very specific to each of us. So that's next is really engaging in that, learning more about the liver health and what we individually specifically need to be doing to release the toxicities that we have, correct the deficiencies, those sorts of things. So for my husband and I, those are the big goals for this year.
Wonderful. I'm totally on board with that. And for anybody listening, that Love Your Liver program is actually with Dr. Garrett Smith. He's the expert on that kind of thing. Just like Deidre was saying, you lessen the toxicities and you address the deficiencies. And you need to know it for yourself because everybody's different. It's not just a shotgun
Right.
approach. Just take this multivitamin. No, 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 no. It doesn't work that way. Yeah, everybody's unique.
Yes. Yes. And I think we're at that point where we are ready and able to start really dialing in. And then I think otherwise it's just keep going and just keep putting one foot in front of the other and not giving up and recognizing what we're doing is really working and just keep trying to learn and try new recipes and try new things, continue to get the kids involved and just keep it a priority.
Great, great. So I'm assuming you're joining us for our low vitamin A cooking lessons, maybe even the
Yes.
fast slow cooking lessons. Are both of those
Yes.
on your radar?
Yes, they are. Yes.
Great, good. Lots of fun times ahead. Oh, Deidre, this has been great to visit with you and learn more about you and your family. I just feel so blessed, and I'm glad we get to continue working with each other. If you were to think about Eat God's Way and people you know or different kinds of people out there, who would you say would benefit from it?
Oh my goodness. I was in the grocery store a few nights ago and looking around and thinking, I wish I could just broadcast from the PA system to everyone in this store. Please go and look up traditional cooking school. It's for everybody. It's really for everybody. But I think, again, that motto of when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, especially anybody that is suffering from chronic issues or just trying to eat healthier. I think there are people with specific needs who would really benefit immediately. And then just people in general. I think the standard American diet has so badly malinformed people, misinformed people generationally about what food should be and how it should be prepared. And so we're trying to take the standpoint of we like to change that with our children and change that with the next generation. So we're really trying to find ways to include our kids in the process to make sure that not only we're taking care of ourselves, it's not a worry per se, but it's something I think about a lot is how do I make sure that my children can pick up this mantle and that they learn how to cook properly and prepare foods properly so that their generation doesn't continue to suffer.
Absolutely. Oh, I just think that's so important. We felt the same way about our children and now grandchildren. We just want them to be stronger, healthier, better than we were. As parents, we do the best we can. We do what we know. Like my parents were wonderful. They did what they know. And that's what I want to do with our children, which they're all grown now and starting families are very soon. And then there's grandchildren. And I see them, at least I see our daughter who has children. She's doing the same thing. It's such a blessing to know that we did pass some good stuff on because it's getting passed on. Oh,
It's
it's
so
really
wonderful. It's
joyful.
beautiful.
It really, really is. Well, thank you, Deidre. I know you're so busy, so I'll let you go, but thank you so much for sharing your story and your encouragement and your words of wisdom for everybody. I know that many are going to get a lot from your story and really relate to you. And then for everybody listening, thank you so much for joining us today. And if you would like any information about classes at Eat God's Way or Traditional Cooking School, enrollment dates, information, just reach out using the email or the phone number. Text us with the phone information that's with this video. Thanks for joining us, everyone. God bless you. Bye-bye.